I was head of Skinner's from 1984 until 1997, and incidentally I'm wearing a brooch today that the staff, the non-teaching staff, gave me when I retired, and they had it made, the then school keeper organised it, and they had it made from the head girl's badge, which was, I believe, was a silver one. It went back to the foundation of the school in 1890, and it's a copy of it, but it has got my dates on it, so it's a unique brooch which was given to me, so I wore it today. My memories of Skinner's, I can remember thinking what a unique school it was when I got the headship. I was appointed by a big body of governors and inspectors and officials of the Skinner's Company at Skinner's Hall in Dowgate Hill. I had not been able to go around the school with the other candidates because I was on a school journey to Greece with the school of which I was deputy head. But I came here and I was given very interesting tours, and I met people then who I got to know well later, who showed me around both the lower school and the upper school. My memory was of warm welcome from the staff. It was a difficult period, the 1980s, because of course there was a shortage of money. There was the big threat to the ILEA, which was our authority, and also there was a lot of action going on for various reasons. For instance, in Skinner's School, we had a number of staff who were very committed to the miners, and I understood that personally because they came from areas where they were worried about their families and jobs. On the other hand, my concern was that the girls' education was continued as steadily as we could, and we had to sort of navigate around that and work around that, and there were a lot of problems, but there were also, it was a great school, I felt, to be head of. And the big things about the school, of which I have such happy memories, are the multicultural nature of it. There was no dominant community. We had girls from every community in Hackney came to this school, some very girls from small communities, but we had a number of Muslim girls who came from the different Muslim communities. We had a lot of girls from Africa and from the Caribbean, and we had girls from Eastern Europe and the Mediterranean area, and of course girls whose origin went right back to old Hackney. So that was a very precious thing really for the school, and I believe it's true still.
Absolutely, yes, yeah. Well, it's nice to know that that tradition has continued for a long, long time, you know, and still is there now.
That's right.
So.
When I got to know some of the old girls, it went back to the days when it hadn't been quite so multicultural. It was Jewish and Christian, but even in its foundation, it was open to girls from faith, all faiths in Hackney, predominantly in those days Jewish and Christian. And among one of the old girls I met was the mother of the present chief rabbi, Jonathan Sachs. His mother was educated in this school, and there was that tradition, and of Christian girls and Jewish girls being in school together, and for assemblies, sometimes separate ones, sometimes joint ones. And that was a tradition that we tried to carry through, but that we valued faith, and we valued the common, I very much valued the common values we shared, the ethical ideas that we shared, the idea that people should reach to the best of their ability. I think the school has always stood for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
The achievement of girls. And the big things about the school, of which I have such happy memories, are the multicultural nature of it. There was no dominant community. We had girls from every community in Hackney came to this school, some very girls from small communities, but we had a number of Muslim girls who came from the different Muslim communities. We had a lot of girls from Africa and from the Caribbean, and we had girls from Eastern Europe and the Mediterranean area, and of course girls whose origin went right back to old Hackney. So that was a very precious thing really for the school, and I believe it's true still.
How do you feel, Mary, about the academy and Skinner's future as you see it?
Well, I think the school had to move on. it was at one point, you see, we were going to be, when I was appointed, because I'd been deputy head of a school that had amalgamated on 2 schools on one site, I think that's one of the reasons why perhaps I was appointed. And we were hoping to have one school where so Newington School was, I think, but the building, the surveyors said no, the building was affected by the reservoirs and the water, and therefore that scheme was stopped and we had to continue as a 2-site school. That had some advantages, I think, not for the staff particularly, but for the pupils. There were advantages for the girls in having the first 3 years at Upper Clapton and the older girls coming here. But for the staff, of course, it made enormous organisations. We spent our time travelling between the two. I made sure I spent my time half at the lower school and half at the upper, that I taught. I didn't teach a lot as a head, but I made a point of teaching classes both in the upper and the lower school, and most of the senior staff did as well, and the heads of departments. But from the girls' point of view, it meant that it was 2 communities. That work from their point of view, it was very expensive and it was very hard on the staff, and it meant we had to take books and stuff with us from one building to another. But for the girls' sake, I think it did have some advantages, given the fact that's how we had to work. So obviously at some point the school had got to develop if it was going to continue, and we managed to develop on this site. Some of the new blocks had been built before I came, the art block and the 6th form block. We had the new technology building in my time, which enabled us to offer technology, which the girls had not had an opportunity for technology before. And we first started in what were the old huts out at the back, but then we had this new building, and that was a real asset. But it was still a 2-site school, and still obviously the site, although very historic, this building particularly, was not really fit for purpose in the 21st century. So I welcome the development. Personally, I suppose I would have liked it to be a girls' academy, because I think it's important. The education for women, and particularly women from the communities that come to this school, they need every encouragement and support, and they need to be valued, and that's my only reservation about it. On the other hand, the school did have a tradition of a joint 6th form when I first came here, and that went well, and so I welcome it. I'm very glad that the Skinners are remaining committed to it. That, I think, is very important. The Skinners Company have been committed to this school all the way through. Many of the London schools that were founded by companies moved out to pastures new outside inner London. For instance, Hackney Downs School, which had failed, of course, and closed, was originally the Grocers' School. And the Grocers' Company did not continue to support it for various reasons, but the Skinners' Company continued to support this school, not always with a lot of money, but the important thing was the personnel. The governing body had very fine people on it from the Skinners' Company who were committed to the school and worked hard to understand what was happening in Hackney, because it was a very different kind of community from the communities most of them knew. We had some, and I wouldn't like to name too many people, I had some outstanding chairs of governors who were really supportive, and vice chairs as well. Women like Rosemary Goad and Evangeline Hunter-Jones are still alive and still interested in the future of the school, supported the school. Dudley Buchanan, she's a governor still, I believe. And the staff, they're long-serving staff here. There are a number of staff still here, some retiring now, who were here before me. They were here before I came, and Mrs. Ballock, Jan Ballock, was here when I came, and she's obviously continuing. Mrs. Marco, Braden Marco, was a member of staff when I came here, and a number of others. Mrs. Luckman came when I did, and we were very fortunate that we retained staff of that calibre.